Hey, my friend. So the question today is, should you partner on your real estate deals or should you not partner? So that's the question that I'm going to dive into for the next few minutes. And I want to share my experience. So when it comes to this topic, early on, I was afraid to partner because all the language that I learned around partnering was that that's the only ship that that doesn't float is a partnership, right? Like it basically alluding to it failing. I had mentors who partnered and had horrible experiences where they were literally tied into their bankruptcy and all this stuff, right? So nightmare scenarios, we all hear it. We always hear about how it can go bad. A lot of times you don't often get to hear about them going good. For years, I was operating in real estate on my own. And as I was getting growing pains, this started to become one of those things I started to question again. Let me go back to that existing belief. And should I challenge that belief again? Is it a limiting belief or is it the right perspective I should have? So 2017, 2018, I have these growing pains where I'm doing volume, but I know that I'm having capacity issues. I know that I am getting close, flirting with being burned out because I was doing a lot of the roles that I hated. So, right, when you're a solopreneur, you wear a lot of the hats yourself. And so there was a lot of those roles that I hated. Again, capacity, I could only do so much. And I was literally leaving money on the table on deals because I was having capacity issues. So then it started to become a question of should I hire someone or should I partner with someone? And those are two distinctly different paths. Okay. When you hire someone, there is a level there that you're either hiring an employee, so you're responsible to train them. Obviously, you've got the overhead of their, salary or however it's structured. Or it's a third party company, right? You're hiring, for example, a property management company. And so you're not necessarily set to train them, but you still have to monitor that relationship and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So you can go that route. And then a partnership is completely different, where that is, each person should have clearly defined roles and they should contribute differently. So in the early years, I did not love the idea of hiring. I did not love the idea because really the onus of training and various things like that, I didn't love that. So one of the things that I looked at was I saw some successful people who really found a partner who was like their opposite. And basically, that person wore all the hats that the other person hated to wear. And so I started to see some real life examples of that, successful examples. And so then I really started to say, hey, is this what I'm missing? Someone who can match me in my race, in the sense of ambition, all the drive, all that I'm bringing to the table, they can match it, but then they can wear the hats that I hate to wear because, those are their strengths that are my weaknesses. Um, so those were some of the questions I was asking. By the way, when I was having growing pains, one of the most common books that was talked about, and I want to kind of share these. You guys know that I love talking about book recommendations. So I'm going to give you four throughout this video, okay? You know, so really very early on, there was a lot of talk around when I was growing, and again, those growing pains was this concept of, Courtney, you need to work on your business just as much as, if not more, that you're working in your business. So there was some, difference there. I realized I was doing a lot of working in the business, not on it. So one of the first books I ever read on this topic that really helped me was The E-Myth Revisited by Michael E. Gerber. I do like the revisited one. It's why most small businesses don't work and what to do about it. And it tells a story, so it's easy to read. It tells a story of basically someone who's running a bakery, And it's really hard to grow a bakery if you're the one who's baking the pies, selling the pies, opening up the bakery shop, serving the customers, cleaning up, ordering all the ingredients, it's so hard to do that. So at a certain point, do you need to bring someone on who can help, for example, to bake the pies so that you can deal with the customers, or someone to deal with the customers so you can bake the pies and order the ingredients and, doing all those things, right? So that was really helpful for me to really see that when you are doing this and when you're running a business, that there's a lot of different hats. Okay. So I'm talking specifically with real estate related businesses here. And so there's a lot of different hats. And again, they can kind of be hard to juggle, especially if you're doing more than one deal a year. This is really important. Okay. And so then as I started doing more volume, they said, Courtney, when you're actually, so I started bringing on some people to help, not partners. Well, yeah, first I brought on some partners. And one of the things we next got introduced to was the book Traction by Gino Wickman. This is the expanded edition. It says, get a grip on your business. Literally, Traction talks about systems, like literally having, weekly meetings and what those meetings should be about. It gets very granular about like the actual system around managing your business. And I'm not gonna lie, I did not love that book. It's like one of the biggest, most touted books on business. And I'm like, ooh, right? Because I ultimately did not love the idea of having staff. Like, you know how many people who have real estate businesses? I'm talking flippers, real estate agents, and wholesalers that when they have a real estate business, they have to close deals just to handle their overhead. So I'm talking like their marketing, their subscriptions, and like staff, like especially like support staff, like a transaction coordinator or an executive assistant, like whatever that looks like, right? Um, Whatever those support roles are, then you need to lead them and guide them. And so then one of the things, man, my first partnership that I brought on, it was basically now every deal I was doing, I was partnering with this person on them, whether it was a flip, whether it was a wholesale, whether it was a rental, every single deal, we were partnering together. And I remember, I picked this person because they were an established business owner. And I really liked that, right? They had multiple businesses, they had experience with partnerships, all these things. And this book, this next book, really illuminated something that doesn't get talked about a lot, or maybe you've heard of it before, but it's the person who wrote the last book, which is Traction by Gino Wickman. I actually prefer this book by them, which is Rocket Fuel. It's by Gino Wickman and Mark C. Winters. It says the one essential combination that will get you more of what you want from your business. So, Rocket Fuel. This book talks about the difference between a visionary and an integrator. A visionary is, think of that as the person who's like the CEO. So they've got the big dream, they're great with relationships, they're great with, basically getting the ball rolling. That can be starting a new project, opening up another division and getting that. And then you've got the integrator, think COO. This is a person that's good with the nitty gritty, right? So they're like, okay, the CEO starts a project, like for example, hey, we've been flipping, but now we're going to start wholesaling. Well, that wholesaling arm, the COO is going to help with, for example, uh, getting all the things moving on the daily basis, the operational stuff, to keep the ball rolling in that direction. And so for me, what I learned, and this actually has like some quizzes so you can kind of self-identify. Most people are either a visionary or an integrator. Very few people are both a visionary and an integrator. And so one of the things they did, it really helped me self-diagnose myself as a visionary and understanding that I was forcing myself all those years to be an integrator. So that was that like the nails on a chalkboard type concept, right? And that's what really, again, was leading to burnout, all this stuff, because I was forcing myself to do something that really drained me. And so then it also helped me identify the main issue with my first partnership, which was I partnered with another visionary versus partnering with another with an actual integrator. And so, although I partnered with another visionary, there is a level there that we eventually ended up closing out that partnership. Still very cordial, great person, love them. But at the same time, we learned that we were too similar, and therefore our partnership, although we got deals done, was not going to be the most successful. Okay. And so that really helped. I eventually partnered with an integrator, and although we don't do 100% of everything together, we do have two separate businesses, multiple separate businesses from each other. There's a lot that we do together where it is very symbiotic in the sense of our strengths and weaknesses play off of each other. So that was a really key lesson that I learned. Another big lesson that I learned, I have had two partnerships, and I'm working on my third that we are dissolving. And something that I learned from here is not that, all of those relationships are going to continue. But some lessons I learned from those are that, you don't want to go just with what's familiar, who's familiar. You want to go with who's the right fit. Again, not two visionaries or two integrators. You need to make sure you have someone who, a lot of people just partner with someone because they bring the money on a deal. Well, you know, you can actually have a third party to do that, right? So why not just hire, get a lender for that, right? So what are they actually bringing to the table? And is it enough for a 50-50 contribution? So those things are important. The other thing is you want to build the paperwork of the partnerships as if you hate each other and you're divorcing, okay? And you want to build that paperwork, again, while everything is good and fine, you want to build it as if you hate each other, because there may come a day that you need to rely on that paperwork. And usually, when you rely on paperwork, it is when things are not going right. And so, you want to make sure that you are setting that up day one. Lastly, when it comes to partnerships, you should be checking in. Partnerships do not have to be a 30-year, a 30-year commitment. It could just be for a few years. And so keep that in mind. The last tip and the last book I'm going to suggest for you is Who Not How by Dan Sullivan with Dr. Benjamin Hardy. The Formula to Achieve Bigger Goals Through Accelerating Teamwork. This book, as soon as I read it, I immediately started over again. I've only ever done that twice in life. And so this book was huge for me. Basically, COVID gave me the opportunity to downsize my team, and that eventually included closing up that partnership and shutting that partnership down. And so then I went back to operating on my own, but obviously I was still having capacity issues, right? My weaknesses, as well as capacity. So I then transitioned from hiring like staff and stuff like that to then having third party companies, as well as partnering with folks, again, the right fit, not just who's familiar and who you're friendly with and who you like, but who's the actual right fit for, for the role based on their strengths and your weaknesses. And I partnered with people in the sense of a shared responsibility. And this book, Who Not How, is fantastic for the idea around that concept. They're not necessarily speaking to partnering for shared responsibility, but it's really great around you don't have to know everything yourself. And so it could be either path. If you need to find people to delegate to, this is a great book of saying, like, you don't have to know it all yourself. You don't have to know how, you just need to know who, right? And the same thing with partnering, right? It's not that you need to go learn how to, for example, do accounting, right? You either need to hire an accountant or bring on a partner that is a role that they can handle and oversee. And so those are my thoughts on partnerships. I do believe partnerships can be done right. I do believe at some time there is a lifespan to that partnership. And so you need to know, and you really need to talk through. I don't get into partnerships lightly. On a wholesale deal, I will partner a lot quicker than anything else. Honestly, on a flip deal, really apart, like there's not a lot that I have done partnerships wise, other than that one specific partner that I had where I did every deal with them. Other than that, I have partnered with private money lenders on flips where I gave them a little bit more of a piece of the pie. But that's not always necessary. Most of the time I just do a loan, just straight out. They're getting interest on the loan. So when I partnered with them, that was very specific situations. And you don't have to have a joint LLC for stuff like that. You can, build it out through, for example, an equity sharing loan, equity participation loan, where, I may get title, they get documents like a loan document, so like a mortgage or a deed of trust that outlines that they get a share of a percentage of the profit. Guys, whatever that looks like, I don't want you to squat up or partner lightly, because I see a lot of people get the wind taken out of their sails when it doesn't go right, and understand that this is life. Relationships, seasons of life change. Plenty of times with my partnerships, things changed over the years, and we really had to adjust our partnership expectations based on that. Guys, make sure you're doing the right paperwork, and make sure that if you're bringing on partners, like obviously, not only should you have paperwork, but you should have stuff like your estate planning done, and you should have your personal finances in order, because you should not be getting into business with other folks. For example, if you've got a messy home life, whether that is, you're flirting with bankruptcy, or, some other complications, know that you bring all of that into your partnership. And so maybe I'm not saying, hey, you, but like keep in mind when you when you bring on a partner, you bring on their personal finances, in the sense of, for example, if they get in trouble with their personal finances or they have some issues that can impact the business, as well as their relationships, right? Those things are important. Look, I do not partner lightly. Each person that I've ever partnered with, I jokingly said we dated for a long time, um, in business. And that may be we joint ventured on some deals, which was just basically not a shared LLC, but we had, joint venture paperwork on certain deals. I wanted to see how did they react during deals. And look, you've got to learn. You may like someone, but do you know how they deal whenever things aren't going well? That's important to know about with your partner. So don't partner lightly. These are a few tips that I have. But I'm not, even though I am working on shutting down my third partnership, um, once we sell the last property we have together, it is not the end of the world. Those relationships, I'm still like cordial with all of the people who I had former partnerships with. And so it doesn't have to be a bad thing. I still will have one remaining partnership out there. And so there's a level there that it is not a bad thing. You can have, a short lifespan to it. And at the same time, I want you to go into it sober minded, right? A lot of people are like, oh, let's just partner. Let me partner with my best friend. Let me partner with my cousin. Let me partner with my family member. Again, just out of familiarity. But I've seen a lot of people get butt hurt in partnerships, and I've seen a lot of things go south in partnerships. So make sure you do the proper partnership paperwork. Make sure you have your own house in order. Make sure they have their house in order. Whenever I partnered with someone, a lot of times we had some pretty hard conversations before we agreed to partner. Like I'm talking like very honest and transparent and difficult conversations. So with that being said, you guys, those are my thoughts today. Look, we're doing one video a day for the first 100 days of 2025. Hope these thoughts maybe helped you, and encourage you that partnerships can be helpful, but they're not something, again, you should get into lightly. See you guys tomorrow. Appreciate you tuning in.